شوفوا أبوي صدق ما عيدنا بالعيد، يعني ما عيدنا مثل الوادم. يعني ايش نحكي له، يعني صرنا بعد مذلولين، عشنا بالذلة، ايش اقول له يعني؟ اقول له مشتاقة له. يعني الوالد ما يتعوض، كل شي ما نريد من عنده بس كون يجي يمنا.
الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In today's hadith of the day, I'm going to share with you a saying from our sixth holy Imam, Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam as-Sadiq says in Biharul Anwar, verily, there are various degrees of serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but affection and cordial inclination for us, the Ahlul Bayt, is the highest one. There are many acts of worship we do every day that bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like praying, reciting the Holy Quran and the du'as, and even simple tasks like working for a good halal livelihood and looking after our families. Here, Imam as-Sadiq is reminding us that the love of the Ahlul Bayt is in fact a service to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in fact the highest one. This love can range from serving them directly, be it in spreading their messages or establishing majalises, to even simply shedding tears for their tragedies, or even just having the feeling of love for them in one's heart. For it is this love that leads us back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that strengthens our faith, that pushes us towards the other acts of worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like our prayer and reciting the Holy Quran. So let us remember to hold this love dear and continuously read more about the Ahlul Bayt and their lives, so that we may fill our hearts with love for them forever. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
barakatuh. We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another live show of Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and law, the show that answers all the questions that you have, the ones that you forward to us. Inshallah, I'm your host Abu Talib Muhammad, and I'm joined by Sheikh Ali Maash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah.
You well, inshallah?
Alhamdulillah.
Ready to answer many questions that we've got, inshallah, coming in?
Inshallah.
As we have said previously, the show is running in live via Facebook, via YouTube and WhatsApp. You can send in your questions via Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp. The numbers are provided in the screen below, as well as you can give us a live call on +440203 515 01999, getting the opportunity to speak to myself or to the Sheikh and getting a live answer for your questions. Sheikh, now we shall start with the questions that have come in already, and inshallah we'll expect many more to come in. The first question says, what does the narration say with regards to self-building and improving one's conduct?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين
آمين رب العالمين.
In تفسير القمي حديث by the authority of أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب عليه السلام,
عليه أفضل الصلاة والسلام,
he states أيها الناس, O people, طوبى لمن ذلت نفسه. طوبى means a tree in paradise. So in other words, paradise be for the one who would humiliate himself, his inner self. He wouldn't be arrogant.
No.
He wouldn't be proud of himself, of his acts, for example. طوبى لمن ذلت نفسه وطاب كسبه. And the one's income is halal. The origin and the source of the income is halal.
Halal money.
Yes. وصلحت سريرته. And his inner heart and intention is pure. Is not mixed with envy, with being jealous, for example.
Hate.
Yeah, exactly. Hatred, enmity, and so forth.
No.
He's got a pure heart.
Yes.
He loves everyone. He respects everyone. A good individual. وصلحت سريرته وحسنت خليقته. And his outer appearance or conduct is always good with people.
No.
He's cheerful, he's
No.
respectful,
No.
polite, and
Yes.
so forth. وأنفق الفضل من ماله. And he would spend his surplus money, his excess, leftover money for the good cause, for example. Now, let's say after paying khumus zakat, which are the wajib payments, to also donate, to pay for, let's say, orphanage, to pay for a Husainiyya, for example, for a channel, and so forth, to help those who are in need. When he's got excess or extra money
that he can support with.
Exactly. وأنفق الفضل من ماله وأمسك الفضل من كلامه. And he would prevent the surplus of his talk, the excess of his talk. He wouldn't talk unless it's necessary. And
Talking
we have
too much,
narrations.
for example.
We have narrations which encourages for the one to keep quiet, as-samt, to keep quiet, unless to say something which is beneficial and is good.
No.
Otherwise, you would, somebody would talk sometimes nonsense or even haram, backbiting, slandering, for example, accusing, and so forth. So one tries to talk less unless it's beneficial. وأمسك الفضل من كلامه وعدل عن الناس شره. And he would prevent his evil conduct or evil actions against others. He wouldn't hurt others or beat others, for example.
Yes.
He would prevent himself from causing trouble to others.
No.
So these are few points in which the Imam says Tuba. In other words, he would be one of those who reside in paradise.
In paradise and heavens.
Or as a reward for this individual
Yes.
who can keep these and implement these in his life, in which inshallah paradise will be his abode, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. I really personally enjoy, as well as the viewers enjoy, the questions that are answered with ahadith and riwayat, and especially when they are from our role models, Ahlul Bayt and Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. Sheikhna, we're going to come to another question. It says, what is the ruling for an individual who knows of and keeps quiet about bad habits amongst the faithful?
If those habits are the ones which are prohibited and haram habits, acts of haram, for example, let's say, for example, masturbation, for example, na'udhu billah, then of course it becomes as a part of the amr bil ma'ruf and nahy al munkar, enjoining good and forbidding evil. In this term, of course, the one should say and refrain the others from such
doing
bad acts, or to encourage to do the good acts and wajib acts.
No. Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. Sheikhna, this question, it's rolling all over social media. As we see on all these social media platforms, lots of the wealthy people, they're getting all these predatory animals. So it's saying, what is the ruling for buying and selling predatory animals such as tigers and lions, all these exotic animals that we are seeing coming from all around the world? What does the Islam Sharia say about this?
Well, it is not permissible for the one to buy or sell such animals which has no particular value, unless there's a reasonable benefit let's say you want to set up a zoo, for example,
Yes.
for the purpose of educational purposes. You bring students from schools, colleges to do
To learn, to
learn,
understand.
to observe the animals, for example, and so forth. So it has to be for a good reason and beneficial aspect. Otherwise, it's not permissible.
And like to have them at home where they have enough space, like they have their own atmosphere, they've adapted the area for them, putting them in cages. Is that acceptable or not? Is it haram or makruh?
Again, no, if there's no benefits from having this animal at home, then of course it's forbidden. Especially if it's a predator. In other words, if they go up, they could cause danger towards
Right.
the surrounding individuals.
No.
So it has to be for a good purpose. As I've said, a zoo, for example.
No.
For the education purposes and so forth.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. And as we have said previously, the show is live and you can send in your questions via Facebook, via YouTube, as well as via WhatsApp. For those that wanting to give us a call on +440 5150199, getting the opportunity to speak to myself or to Sheikh and getting a live answer for your question. Sheikh, now we're going to come to more questions. And as speaking, we're close to the period of Hajj. This question says, I'm a single young man. I'm able or I'm capable to go to perform Hajj. I'm also thinking about getting married. What is more preferable, for me to go to Hajj or getting married? One of them will be delayed. Which one will be more wajib or mustahab?
And overall, the wujub of Hajj would be the priority, and the one should postpone his marriage in this case.
No.
Because Hajj is wajib, is part of the furu' ad-din. It's wajib like the Salah and fasting. There's no difference. Wajib is wajib. Especially if one is capable, is mustati', he's got the means, the money, the visa, the passport, and so forth. Then it becomes wajib. The priority should be given to the Hajj.
No.
Yes.
So priority will be going to Hajj and delaying the marriage.
Definitely. Unless that would cause a severe difficulty, or the one might fall into the haram, the act of haram.
No.
So maybe this individual, if he doesn't get married soon, then he might fall into the haram, datings, as I've said, masturbation, and so forth. When the haram comes, of course, one should avoid the haram. Then, of course, one can postpone Hajj for this extreme purpose or difficulty, and marry first and spend the money for the marriage purpose. Otherwise, Hajj and the wajib act would be in the first place.
Naam, inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. Again, for those that have sent in their question, inshallah, that's answered for them. We've got a question coming in, and this question says, Salaam alaikum, I'm hoping for Ahkam SOS team can solve my question regarding khums. I have a query. In 2016, my mum acquired a specific amount of money, and that amount kept increasing. My mother never made a specific khums payment based on the amount she had, but she always gave hundreds of thousands of dollars to those in need and counted it as khums. My mother in 2021 used some of that money she had and constructed an orphanage. She is aware that the money she has paid for khums has more remaining money of it that she did not use for the orphanage. So she questions, is or does she still need to pay khums with the money she used to fund the orphanage, in regards to or regarding the ideology or the answer of Sayyid Sistani?
I think the best way to solve this issue is to go back to one of the offices or representatives of the Ayatollah Sistani, for example, where she lives, and speak to them, and to forward her issue to the Marja' and Najaf, because the Marja' can do a settlement, musalaha, in other words, to what she paid. She could have paid a lot or less, or anyhow. So best way to go back to your Marja', the rep, and try to solve the issue. As I've said, they would in somehow put a settlement and do musalaha for any payments made or needs to be made.
Naam, inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. Inshallah, that answers the question. We have another question, and it says, if the fish that died in the water is mixed by mistake with the fish that died outside the water, so they were caught separately in different catches, and it's not possible to distinguish between them, what is the ruling in this case?
Well, it's better for the one to sell the fish for those who deem this type of fish permissible for them. So you would sell it for, let's say, non-Muslims, who they don't really mind if the fish died inside or outside the water, unlike us Muslims, in which we have to have the condition of, catching the fish outside the water. Best thing to sell it to those who deem it as permissible in their faith, of course.
I think I would recommend fishing again and getting ones that inshallah shall die outside the water. We've got another question, and it says, Assalamu alaikum Sheikh, I am a student, my college provides us with food that they state is halal. Can I judge this food, or should I take a vegetarian option?
You see, when a non-Muslim tells you that we have halal food, you have to investigate. It's different than a Muslim who says to you that, my food is halal. Because قول المسلم حجة, so you can rely on Muslims' words if he says that I'm selling or I'm offering or serving halal food. For the non-Muslim, you have to prove it. You have to investigate, ask, until you reach to the stage in which you can be assured that they actually import their meats and supply it from a Muslim butchery, for example. In this case, you can consume it, yes.
Okay,
otherwise, for now, you can consume, let's say, vegetarian until you're
sure of it.
Sure about the source of the meat.
Okay, what at times we go to restaurants or like in cafeterias as well, the license of halal is there, but the date of it is gone. Can we still trust that, or will we have to look for something more with a valid date on it?
If they are a Muslim, you can trust them, as I've said. With the Muslim, because we have the hukum of suq al-Muslimin, Muslim market, you can buy without asking, so you can trust them. But as I've said, for non-Muslims, because they don't have this issue of halal in their faith, although they are trustworthy sometimes, they're honest.
Yes.
But still, you have to make sure that the meat they're actually serving is halal, from a halal source.
Inshallah, thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. That's clarified the question for that individual brother. Inshallah, that will be cleared. We've got another question that says, and it's a WhatsApp question, what is the ruling concerning date syrup if it's boiled by fire?
There's no objection. It's halal to consume. What we have is the grape juice. If it's boiled, then you cannot consume it. So the issue is with the grape juice mainly, that if somebody boils that grape juice, then they cannot consume it unless evaporates 2/3 of it. So you reboil it again. And evaporates for 2/3 of that juice, then it becomes halal to consume.
What about raisins? When raisins are boiled?
There are different issues. I mean, mas'ala with this regard, the main issue is to do with grape juice and not the raisins.
Not raisins.
Some would say that you can't consume it, but some others would have different opinion. But the main issue is about the grape juice that you cannot consume if it's boiled.
Inshallah, thank you very much. We've got a sister saying, Assalamu alaikum Sheikh. Again, it's a WhatsApp question. Assalamu alaikum Sheikh. In many salads, they have in the ingredients white vinegar. Is this permissible to have as it says vinegar, or because it's white wine vinegar, it's not acceptable to have?
One of the, I think, mutahirat, or that makes something tahir, I think we discussed this in the taharat masail, that انقلاب الخمر خل, the transformation of wine to vinegar. Now we have a different subject, a completely different type of food or drink, and that is vinegar. It's no longer an alcoholic, intoxicating liquid. It's just the vinegar. So yes, it is halal to consume such vinegar, which is mainly from the wine and so forth, because it's now been transformed from vinegar
from alcohol to vinegar,
which is the wine.
So that's both for white wine vinegar as well as red wine vinegar.
Yeah, no issue with it.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. We've got another question, and it says, is it better to hold the tasbih closer to your chest when we do the tasbih of Bibi Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra after prayers?
I haven't seen anything to be mentioned in the books or hadith.
So there's no riwayah that says bring the tasbih closer to you or further away from you.
What is, mentioned is to, respect and kiss the tasbih, for example, and put on your eyes, for example.
Yes.
That types of respect to this. If it's Turbat al-Hussein alayhi salam, of course, from Karbala. in overall, but we just have to, hold the tasbih as usual and do your tasbihat.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. We've got another question, and I believe as well, it's another WhatsApp question. Coming down to the summer, in my college we have bizarre rituals like throwing eggs and pasta sauce at students finishing their exams. Am I allowed to participate in such rituals? So they've come to the end of year, they finish their exams. I believe they are leaving their college or their sixth form or their secondary starting, or their primary starting their secondary, throwing eggs and pasta, like bizarre acts. Are they allowed to participate in such things, or should they stay away from such things?
That is part of the israf or tabdhir.
Na'am, because it's wasting the food.
Exactly, one should avoid that. This is ni'mat Allah Azza wa Jal.
Na'am.
You cannot destroy ni'matullah. There are people who are hungry who have no access to that egg or to that vegetable. So one should avoid it and prevent from wasting food for no reason.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. We've got another question, and I believe again it's a WhatsApp question. Lots of WhatsApp questions. We hope to hear more Facebook questions as well as YouTube. We've got a question. It says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is it allowed to follow one marji' in every except one fatwa to follow another marji'? So am I allowed to follow one marji' for every fatwa, or am I have to follow one marji' and follow all his fatawa?
No, you must follow one marji' for all his fatawa. But when he issues, well, not a fatwa, but a ihtiyat, let's say ihtiyat fatwa, in which he couldn't reach to a conclusion or to the evidence, the marji' would say ihtiyat wujubi as obligatory precaution that you can do this or you can't do this. In this case, you can go back to another marji' and follow his fatawa with this regard.
Yes.
So in this case, you can go back. When the marji' says ihtiyat wujubi or obligatory precaution, you can't do this, for example, it's haram. So then you can find another marji'. But for the rest of the masail, you have to follow that one marji'.
So I think this situation, usually people go and use another marji' or follow another marji''s instruction or fatwa. Usually it's on the start of Shahr Ramadan and the day of Eid. So if you're a follower of one marji', can you follow another marji''s start of Shahr Ramadan or the day of Eid, or will you have to follow your own marji'?
I mean, you stick with your marji''s announcement, because they announce usually the day of the Eid or the day of the month of Ramadan.
No.
So stick with their announcement. That's the best way and safe way.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. We've got another question, and it says, I heard before that one can take medication to end a pregnancy in the first 2 or 3 weeks because there is no life at that time. Is this correct or not?
It's not permissible at all to basically to kill even that fetus, which is only 1 day. It's not permissible at all. I mean, unless the mother is in life-threatening situation, it's been death and life. In this situation, yes, she can do so.
Otherwise,
abort the child. Otherwise, it's not permissible at all.
At all.
Even if it's 1 day.
Even it's 1 day.
When the sperm reaches the womb of the woman, that's it. Nobody can do anything.
No.
Before that, of course, they have contraception and so forth.
No. But if it's risking
when it's reaching the womb of the wife of the mother, that's it.
As soon as it starts risking their life, then they can take action.
If it's life-threatening situation, and that should be done with the professional doctor, for example, to inform and advise them.
Inshallah.
Otherwise, they can't.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. To all the dear viewers that have sent in their questions, we'll be going on a slight break showing you how you can send your questions in via Facebook or YouTube or WhatsApp. Please stay seated and we'll see you shortly.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of scholars at home.
Is it permissible to plant trees by or
Was
over
Islam
the
established based on peace and
Is it
non-violence?
permissible to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there
countries?
an issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, call in on +44 2035 150199 or WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155. Alternatively, you can also email us on Ahkam SOS at imamhussein.tv.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back after a short clip. Inshallah, that clip was beneficial for you and it showed you and taught you how you could send your questions over to us. Our show is live, as we said before. You can send in your questions via Facebook, YouTube or WhatsApp, and you can give us a live call on +44 0203 515 01999, getting to speak to the Sheikh himself and getting a live answer for your question. Sheikhna, we've gone on a short break. We've spoken about many topics and we're going to come down to a very big topic, and I think it's about speaking about companions. And we have a question that says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What is the Shia Muslim view on companion Muqdad ibn Aswad?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Indeed, he is one of the great companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who and the followers of Imam Ali alayhi salam, a devout Shia of the Imam alayhi salam, and one of those three main mentioned, Al-Miqdad, Salman and Abu Dhar, the main top
three
Sahaba who remained after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam after his demise with Imam Ali alayhi salam, supporting Ali alayhi salam in his battle with those who usurped his Khilafah.
So he's one of the most pronounced companions that we can say with Imam Ali. He's one of the three. What were the other three you could say again?
Al-Miqdad, Salman and Abu Dhar.
Naam, inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. We're going to come down to another question, and I believe lots of brothers and sisters are going on trips. And the question says, the traveller who must shorten his Salah as Qasr, if he misses any of the Dhuhr, Asr or Isha Salah, is it mandatory for him to perform the Qadha or Qasr as short? So is it mandatory for him to pray it as Qasr or to pray it back as full?
If he missed his Salah Qasr, then when he's back home or anywhere else, he must perform the Salah as Qasr.
No.
So you have to perform the Qadha as you missed this Qadha. You missed the full, you pray in full. You've missed the Qasr, you pray it as Qasr.
No.
So you shouldn't basically pray it in full because you are now back home.
So no, if you were the time of the Salah, if it was Qasr,
yes,
depending on where your location is,
exactly,
you have to pay it back as Qasr as well.
As it was, yes, as you missed it.
No.
In that situation, condition, Qasr or full. I have basically a question which was not answered the last episode about a sister who asked about somebody, about a lady or a girl who was she was a virgin and she na'udhu billah committed zina.
No.
And now she wants to get married to another man. What is the hukum? Does the father has any wilaya authority?
Yes.
With this regard, yes, the wilaya and the authority of the father remains intact.
No.
Yes, they have to ask the permission from the father. Although she lost her virginity because of the zina, na'udhu billah, they have to go back to the father for the coming marriage. And because of this act, she needs to do one period, حيضة واحدة, as istibra, to purify herself. So she needs to wait one period.
No.
Elapses, and then she can go and get married.
No, inshallah.
As a result, after of course asking Allah's tawbah and repentance.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. Again, to all the viewers, at times you send in the question, but we don't have a specific answer for it. So we take in the question, we do our research and get it answered in the next coming shows. For those that have sent in their questions, great job you've done, and inshallah we'll be answering your questions. And for those that wanting to send their questions in, you can send them in via Facebook comments as well as WhatsApp chat and YouTube. We're also taking in live calls. If you can give us a call, getting the opportunity to speak to the Sheikh himself or to myself and getting a live answer for your question. Sheikhna, we've had a question about fishing. We've got some more questions about fish. And the question says, why can't we eat fish without scales? And can we eat shrimps?
Basically, we have narrations from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam in which they've advised us to not to eat the fish which has no scales. I've mentioned a hadith a couple of months ago with this regard that eat the fish which has scales, for example, the Imam mentions alayhi salam. And of course we stick with the hadith of Ahlul Bayt because we follow them as the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has advised us to follow the Book of Allah and his progeny. In the hadith of Thiqlain, the famous hadith of Thiqlain, that I leave two weighty things, the book of Allah and my progeny. So the hadith of Ahlul Bayt is connected to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They actually interpret and they continue the journey or the message of their grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have to refrain from eating non-scales fish, and of course the exception is with prawns. So yes, we can eat prawns, but not, let's say, oyster or lobster or crabs and so forth.
My next question was going to be, are we allowed to have oyster, lobster or crab? And they are also forbidden, they are haram to have.
Exactly.
Now the question is, for the fishes that don't have scale, are we not allowed to have them because there's a scientific reason behind them, or is it just because the hadith and the riwayah says we are forbidden to eat them?
You see, we stick originally with the hadith or with the Quranic instructions. Yes, we would accept if there is a scientific evidence for that, but if there's no scientific evidence, then we stick with Allah's commandments. When Allah says Aqimus Salah, and the Prophet comes and says you have to pray, let's say the morning, the Fajr pray 2 rak'ah. We don't ask why is it 2 rak'ah, why not 4 rak'ah?
Right, we shouldn't question it.
Because we don't have the access to the unseen knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jalla, ilmul ghayb. So we have to submit, because one of the meanings of Islam means submission, taslim, to the ahkam. Because we cannot define with our limited aql and reasons the reasons and the wisdom behind these ahkam in overall. Some of them might be, yes, we might be able to find them, but not everything. So they remain to be as divinely orders and commands that we have to abide and obey, and to refrain from the haram. Why can't we, for example, eat non-haram meat? What's the difference between halal slaughtered sheep and non-halal? What's the difference? They're both meat, for example. Of course, the science comes and for example, defines the benefits of halal slaughtering and so forth. We leave this to the science, but in overall, we have to stick with the commands of Allah Azza wa Jalla. That Allah is wise. We believed in Allah's existence, and He is wise, and He is merciful, and He has a lot of the basis of kindness that He sends. He sends prophets, He sends holy books, He sends instructions to guide the humanity from the darkness of deviation towards the light of guidance. So when we have all that submitted, then of course we submit to the ahkam as well.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. Now we've got another question that says, is taking khums as-sada allowed if I may say it and poor in need of support?
Of course, if one is mustahaq, they can take the khumus, be it sada or non-sada. Of course, one should go back to, take the ijaza, of course.
Of the marja'iyah.
Sometimes if one is so in desperate, he's got a huge amount of loans to pay and he can't pay.
Yes.
Of course, sometimes they would give him both portions. If he's, let's say, Sayyid, he can take the Sayyid and the non-Sayyid portion as well.
Support.
The whole khumus, because of this
depending on how much he's in need.
Yes. So, I mean, best thing to go back and ask for the ijaza and permission from your marja.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. Now we've got another question. It says, what is the hukum if I'm to go for Hajj on the second basis?
So what is the second basis?
What's the hukum if I'm to go to Hajj on the second basis, like going for Hajj for the second time?
I mean, the second time is mustahab. What is important is to go Hajj. It's a once in a lifetime.
Once in a lifetime, yes.
Wajib, like Salah, like Som, to go and perform the Hajj rituals, which is known as Hajjatul Islam, the first Hajj. Wajib Hajj, you must perform it if you're capable, if you have the means, if you have the money, the travel documents, the journey is safe, there's no danger, for example, then it becomes wajib.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. Now we've got another question, and it says, again, it's about Hajj. Lots of questions come in about Hajj when we're closer coming to Hajj, period. It says, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have a family member that passed away and has not gone to Hajj before his death. we have set an amount of money to send somebody on behalf of him to go to Hajj, but due to restrictions in Saudi Arabia, they haven't been able to send anybody. Should we wait until there's been an opportunity for us to send him, or should we use the money to give it to people in need on his behalf?
Of course, there are many believers are now going to Hajj from Iraq, from Iran, from the rest of the world. Followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. If you trust somebody, you can call an individual who you trust. So you can give this money to the one who is now in let's say in Mecca or Medina, to give them as niyaba for this deceased individual, so they can perform the Hajj on his behalf.
No.
We have believers now, mu'mineen in Hajj now, as I've said, traveling now. Some of them are now already in Medina or Mecca.
No.
They can do the Hajj. Of course, if you trust those individuals, you can give them, transfer the money to them to perform the niyaba.
The Hajj on behalf of that
course, yeah.
individual. Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. Inshallah, that's answered the question. For those that have asked the question, we've got a question that says, can we pray on tasbih khake shifa?
You have to make sure that you gather all the tasbih, so it wouldn't be separate.
No.
To form as a turba.
So does it have to be solid? Does it have to be on a flat surface? Or does it have to be a specific measurement?
No, it's just you have to gather it next to each other and pray on it.
To pray on it.
It should be fine.
So it should be fine. Inshallah. And we've got another question. Again, it's about Hajj. Can I do Hajj on behalf of somebody? Can I do Hajj on behalf of someone for money if I have never been to Hajj? And will it also count as my first Hajj, or do I need to go again without a niyaba?
No, if you go for the niyaba, then you have to go for your own Hajj again, the wajib Hajj. So whenever you're mustati', you have the means, of course. This Hajj is only niyaba counted. So you have to make sure that when you're mustati' again, you got the money, you have to go back for the Hajj as a wajib Hajjatul Islam for yourself. That's a separate one. So you have to wait when you get the capability or the istita'a.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. Sheikh, now we've got another question, and it says, was the flood of Prophet Nuh, peace be upon him, global or local?
I have heard that it wasn't the whole earth global, but I'm not sure about this. But in overall, the way the Quran describes this is huge. It's very scary. That's how the adab used to pour on those who disobeyed Allah Azza wa Jal and rejected the message of Nuh alayhi salam, and how they drowned even his son. Son of Nuh also drowned because he disobeyed his father and rejected his father's faith, and eventually drowned.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that. Sheikh, now we've got another question, and it says, Assalamu alaikum, please, I'm wearing a aqiq ring that has the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on it. As I know, it's forbidden to touch directly the names of Allah when you are not in the state of wudu. So please, what should I do? Thank you.
Always try to be in wudu. I mean, this is a good habit that the one be in purity and wudu all the time. So whenever you go to the toilet, before leaving, when you wash your hands and so forth, just do quick wudu, mustahab wudu, to be in purity at all time. And that's it. It should be an issue. One, to be in tahara.
Nah.
It's a blessing. It brings khair, barakah, rizq and everything.
And for sure, when entering places like the toilet, he used to take the ring off his hand.
Yeah.
Nah, inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikh. We've got another question, and it says, Salamun alaykum, Musnad al-Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Is this authentic or not, Sheikhna?
Well, I haven't researched with this regard about this particular book, but in overall, the hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are being submitted by the ulama, by Sheikh Saduq, by Sheikh Tosi, others who have spoke about these hadith. So we don't have really that issue about some books, unless we have some ulama would maybe not agree with some of these hadith. But in overall, these are hadith Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, as long as they are in line with the Kitab Allah Azza wa Jal, don't contradict the book of Allah Azza wa Jal.
No.
So if the hadith is in line with the Kitab Allah Azza wa Jal and the chain of narrative is sahih, or mawthuq and so forth, we accept the hadith, we accept that book.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have a question that says, Assalamu alaikum. I have a business. I hire out halls. At times, the hall is hired out to have weddings where alcohol and parties take place. Is there any ithim under my responsibility, or should I reject such invitations or hiring events?
Inshallah, I will research about this masala, inshallah, in detail.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. Inshallah, we'll get a response. For the dear viewer or the individual that answered that question, we'll get a quick and good response, inshallah, on the next coming show, which will be next week. We've got another question, and it's from YouTube, I believe. It says, is ilm al-huruf, ilm al-awfaq, and ilm al-fajr haram and fabricated?
You see, if it's a benefits in somehow, we have, for example, ilm al-huruf, in which they made use of the numbers. So each letter in Arabic represents a specific number, for example. So some would use these for particular use. But of course, you could use any ilm, any knowledge in na'udhu billah haram, which becomes haram, of course. So if it's something used for a good purpose, good reason, it should be fine. But otherwise, if it's used for evil purpose or intention, of course, should be avoided.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikh. We've got a question that says, Assalamu alaikum, I'm going through a rough time financially. What can you advise me to do, recite, or carry to pick up my financial situation?
We have in the narrations that Ighathatul Malhoof is to save and help someone who is in desperate difficulty and need. One of the reasons or one of the causes of one might gain better in terms of financial is to help others. When you help others, then you get the payback.
No.
And you would, for example, have more rizq. Of course, we have ad'iyah of rizq. If you can start with, for example, after each salah, to say this verse, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ, to the end of the ayah.
No.
3 times after each salah, inshallah, things will reach the stage of betterment, and inshallah you would have paid all your loans. But as I've said, add to that helping others, serving others. That would have a lot of effect, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikh. And we've got a YouTube question that says, are we allowed to do la'an during the prayer and after the salawat?
We have narrations from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam that in some of their prayers they used to do la'an against some of their enemies. I think Fatima alayhi salam, the Lady of Light, when she got angry with those who usurped her haqq, she said that لَأَدْعُونَ عَلَيْكُمَا فِي كُلِّ صَلَاةٍ, that I will pray against you in every prayer,
salah.
every salah. So yes, the one can do so. Why not? Following Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam with this verse. We have the other hadith that after salah, after each salah, that the Imam used to curse 4 men and 4 women.
No.
So we have a hadith with this regard, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Alright, thank you very much, Sheikhna. Unfortunately, to all the viewers, we have come down to the final question that I'll be asking. For those that have sent in their questions and haven't been answered, we have come down to the final question, and we'll try to answer the questions that you have sent in on the next coming show. The question is, Salaam alaikum, Sheikh. Does Islam or the Sharia tell us anything about veganism or becoming vegetarians?
I think it's the opposite, that you can't leave, let's say, eating meat for 40 days. We have this. You have to have meat in somehow eaten by this time, because that would, I think, would make your heart hard, for example. قسوة قلب.
نعم صحيح.
So don't leave so much gap. And of course, another hadith which says, don't make your stomach a graveyard for the animals.
Yes.
Don't eat so much meat and chicken every day with huge amounts.
So you have to balance it.
You have to balance it, exactly. And it's good to have, let's say, 1 or 2 days a week to eat vegetarian. Why not?
It's a great diet.
Give it a bit of break. to your stomach.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. Thanks for your efforts and thanks for the answers that you've given us and the rawayat and hadith that you've given us today. I would like to thank the viewers of Ahkam SOS. It's been a great show so far. Inshallah, we're going to end the show today. Thank you very much for sending in your questions, and inshallah, we'll see you on the next coming shows. Please be prepared to send in your questions. We'll see you. Fi amanillah.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In today's hadith of the day, I'm going to share with you a saying from our sixth holy Imam, Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam as-Sadiq says in Biharul Anwar, "Verily, there are various degrees of serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but affection and cordial inclination for us, the Ahlul Bayt, is the highest one. There are many acts of worship we do every day that bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like praying, reciting the Holy Quran and the du'as, and even simple tasks like working for a good halal livelihood and looking after our families." Here, Imam as-Sadiq is reminding us that the love of the Ahlul Bayt is in fact a service to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in fact the highest one. This love can range from serving them directly, be it in spreading their messages or establishing majalises, to even simply shedding tears for their tragedies, or even just having the feeling of love for them in one's heart. For it is this love that leads us back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that strengthens our faith, that pushes us towards the other acts of worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like our prayer and reciting the Holy Quran. So let us remember to hold this love dear and continuously read more about the Ahlul Bayt and their lives, so that we may fill our hearts with love for them forever. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.